Action.
And action. Zoe.
Go.
And we are here on the Long Haul Marriage Roadcast with Zoe.
How exciting.
Yeah, we've been planning this for a while.
I'm ready.
Wow. Are you ready? Do you
I
know
don't
what we're
really
going to
have
talk
an
about?
answer, but yes. No, not really.
What do we got?
Just rascals trying to bust in the door.
So we got a dog trying to bust in on us. So first, thank you for doing this.
Thanks for
We've been
having
wanting to do
me.
this for a while. And Jamie, whoa.
Sorry.
Okay, so obviously we're pivoting on the shot today. This is our first video podcast in a while.
That's
Because
so
we
exciting.
wanted to use your face as a promo for Long Haul Marriage. We got to get some traction on the TikTok.
Listen, I'm on the TikTok.
So, Jamie, you don't have to raise your hand. When you want to say something, you just grab that mic because we're sharing the mic today.
I'll do it.
So, what drew you to listening? So, you're a young 20-something, and you are a regular listener of the Roadcast.
I listen every Monday. I'm sad when there's not one.
Oh,
And that's only been one time in the last 26 weeks?
Yeah.
I think. Only one time. But so what draws you to listening to this? Why do you care about listening to a long haul marriage roadcast?
Well, you guys just make me happy, and I like listening to y'all's voice. It's like a comforting feeling. I don't know.
Aw.
It feels like home and family when you're in the car and you're like, okay, well, like, let me get on FaceTime with Brian and Jamie.
that's my mom
Like,
and dad.
yeah, I'm like, okay. I mean, anything that you guys have to say is always so insightful, and like, I feel like adds value to my life, even if I don't realize it in the moment. Like, I'm like, wait, Brian and Jamie literally just talked about that a few weeks ago. I could go back and listen, or I kind of remember. And yes, I'm not married, but I mean, I'm in a relationship, and I feel like sometimes those things help. And
Absolutely. I mean, I wish we would have had a podcast like this that we could have listened to back when we were 22, 23 years old. I think I was 23. You were 22 when we got married. Didn't start having kids till we were like 28. But I just think all of it relates. So all of it relates. That's
For
so
sure.
cool that you listen to it. Go ahead.
Someone recently told me, she's a little bit older, and we meet, every couple of weeks. And she said, I know this is called long haul marriage, but it could totally be called long haul life, which
For
I
sure.
loved, because I think anything we do when we do meet with a lot of married couples, but we also I meet with women, and he meets with guys. We meet with, from like 17 to 71, so I think long haul life is a good description of what we do. So
petition to change the name.
yeah, okay. Could we change the name? No, let's don't change the name.
So we do think the stuff we talk about is relevant because it's relationships. Now, I can't wait to get into all things like the dating scene and being a girl and a young 20-something. But I want to be sensitive. You are dating somebody that we all know very, very well. Won't mention his name unless you want to mention his name.
Oh,
But,
no, like if we mention his name. No, I'm just kidding. But
So a really good friend of our family's, and you're dating him. But I want to be able to talk to you about that situation. I mean, here you are in your young 20s, you're dating. Did you ever go through, before you met this young man that you're currently dating, did you ever go through the online dating thing?
I did. Jack and I actually met online.
Okay, so it's a Jack. We'll just call him
Yes.
Jack.
Yeah, unless they yes, I'm young.
I did
Yeah,
a shout out
well-
to Jack yesterday morning.
well, here we go, round
I
two.
hopefully taught him on the last podcast. Well, who knows when this is going to be released, but on one of our previous podcasts just a few weeks ago, I taught him to play Mr. Blue Sky from ELO. I went through the chords of that. You'll hear it. Yeah. So anyway.
I'm excited.
So go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
I'm like, where were we?
Yeah, somebody will call Jack.
Yeah. So Jack and I actually met online, but I had been kind of on the apps for a little bit. But I think I went on like maybe one other date, and it was like not really great, or a date. And it was like, we like already knew each other. So it was like we saw each other in the apps, but I didn't like meet him on the apps. Like I met Jack on the apps for the first time and did that whole like,
So what was that like, trying to get to know someone, just that vetting process? Like, am I even interested? When you're swiping right? So
Yeah.
what is that like before do you talk to him 100 times? Do you then meet him face to face? Like,
so there were
describe that.
guys, on the app you're swiping and trying to, we met on Hinge, and I feel like Hinge was the best because you actually had to put a little thought in your profile. Like there are questions and prompts that you have to answer, and all the like, how old are you? What are you looking for? Kind of like that thing versus like a Bumble or a Tinder that it's like just pictures. So you match with people and they are like, hey, and it's the same conversation, or they say a pickup line or whatever. But what stood out to me about Jack was he just messaged me and was like, hey, like, no way you're from Argyle, because it's such a small town. And it was like, yeah. Like, and we maybe sent like 5 messages back and forth on Hinge before he was like, hey, could I get your number? I'd love to take you out for a margarita. And then immediately texted me and was like, set up a date for like the next day or something like that.
Aww,
and was like, all right, we're going to meet at Rusty Taco at 7:30 or whatever. And that I wasn't used to that, because it was like any guys that would talk to you, like they'd want to talk or whatever. And he didn't text me again until like basically our date. I had messaged him and was like, by the way, what's your last name? Because I don't I don't go out with guys I don't.
So do you think that his thought process, I mean, he is such a personable guy. I know I'm biased, but I think he's just amazing. He's really, really good with people. So do you feel like he wanted to save most of that conversation for face-to-face in person?
For sure. That's definitely what we talked about on our date. Was he was like, because I messaged him like at 4:00 of our date and was like, hey, are we still on? I haven't heard from you. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, are you good? And it was like, yeah. So we met and he was like, I just didn't want to, do the whole like, what do you do? Like, then we would have nothing to talk about in person. I feel like that's what guys do is all my friends tell me like, well, I mean, I already know it. Like, it's going to be awkward when we go out. Like, we have nothing to talk about. We already did all the small talk.
Yeah. So what did you know on that first date? Did you know that, okay, I could see this going a little further than just one date, right? Because you had one that didn't go well before. Yeah. And I'm sure that's the deal. I mean, I just hear horror stories and nightmares. It's like, oh my gosh. And so people don't even want to do that. But if you're not online, I mean, how do you meet people, right? If you graduated from college and maybe you're not in a big church where,
I work in a hair salon with all girls. Like no guys come in there. Like there wasn't.
Right. So he didn't put off psycho vibes. So there was a second date, obviously. Yes. So yeah, tell me how the first one went, and then what made you how did it progress after that?
Yeah, I was going to this date so nervous. I literally was on FaceTime with my friend walking up to the date because I was like codependent and was like, I'm terrified. And he just did things that I felt like were kind of not the norm in today's dating society. He got there 15 minutes early and texted me when he got there. I was super anxious and nervous of I'm going to walk in and I've only seen this guy's profile. What if I am looking around like a dummy and can't find him? And he texted me hey, it's August. I'm sitting outside in the table out front so you'll know who I am. I'm waiting for you. And we just clicked. And me and him, I feel like we've talked about it wasn't very we're going to this date and we're going to make it work and this is our person. We weren't really both looking for our forever person, but we just kind of talk now and it's we both went in that date and we're like, uh-oh. We're stuck.
So you knew it. What were the things about Jack that, without getting too personal, that drew you to him? Because there are so many guys who just at this age, so let's put it this way, at your age, even though you're young, 22, 23, so if there's a guy, 22, 23, he's probably representing about 16, 17 years old, right? They're so immature, and just sometimes they haven't caught up yet to the maturity level of some young women at this age. Now, that's not always true, and it's definitely not true of Jack. No. So here he was. So go ahead, you tell me.
Well, he's like a unicorn. He is just the best, and the way he makes you feel about yourself, and when he's talking to you, he truly cares and wants to know and asks questions. It's not just what'd you eat for lunch? He makes you feel comfortable without as soon as he walks in a room, he lights it up and you just are drawn to him. There's something about him that is just
that's how he's been. So he's been, like Brian said, a family friend for so many years. And I remember just as a young kid coming over to our house he'd come into the kitchen and how's it going, Ms. Zachney? And he just, he towered over me from 8 years old probably. But he just was so mature. He was like a wise old man at 11 years old. It was crazy.
That's part of it.
He must have had really great parents. Shout out, hey.
He does. He has amazing parents.
Just really, really great kids. So I feel like on your first, couple of hinge dates, you caught a great one. He's a great guy.
Yeah. On our first date, we were sitting on the Denton Square people watching. And that was like, you're my person. Like, if we can do this, and it's not just sitting there being like, okay, and where'd you go to school? And it was actually you could see what it would be like hanging out with this person. I thought that was super unique.
Yeah. So a lot of kids your age now, they're not getting married at all, or they're delaying it till they're their 30s, right?
Right.
And why is that? I mean, I have my ideas on why people are not getting married, or they're delaying it and many are just saying, hey, you know what? I ain't going to do it at all. And some are just saying, well, let's do a test run for a while, and, they'll move in together and all that stuff. So tell me, what are your thoughts? There's the previous relationship baggage sometimes. There's the family of origin stuff that give us concerns about moving forward in a long-term relationship.
Yeah. I feel like there's a couple things. I feel like one is girls my age, I feel have this sort of man hater vibe going on, which I don't fully understand. They've had a previous relationship or some guy kind of do them wrong. And I had it, I had friends, I got in a relationship and my single friends were you don't need a boyfriend. Guys suck. Anything that a guy does, at any chance they were biting at the, chomping at the bit to be no, break up with him. He sucks. And it's okay, well.
Speaking out of their own pain, they've been burned. And so all men suck. All men are dangerous.
Yes.
All men are oppressive. All men are fill in the blank.
Yeah. And then you're in this relationship and you're okay, wait. No, I really like this person. I could see it going somewhere. And that's with everybody. Everybody's going to have something that, we're all human. You're not going to love everything everybody does all the time. But then to have those friends that are, not really friends in the end of it, that are telling you no, not speaking life into you or not speaking life into your relationship.
Yeah. And even if it's good right now, they're saying, oh, just wait.
Yeah.
That's cynicism. And I get it, man. So many have had such bad experiences, and many have had bad experience after bad experience. And so it's just compounded, and they've lost trust. They've lost trust in love, in relationships, and as you said, in men. And so let me just bring this up. A lot of young women are trading relationships with men for other women. And I'm not talking about a moral stance on this or that. Is that purely is that a cultural pressure because of this message that's out there? Or is that truly, man, I just feel safer with a woman?
I have no idea because, I never had, I've got my good girlfriends, but never was I just don't understand that.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But I don't know where that comes from, because that is a thing now. It's I'm just going to go be with a woman. And it's you do you, boo.
Yeah.
But I don't know where that comes from or stems from. I think probably some of that is the men hatred of guys just are horrible and they're out to get you all the time and all these things. And so it's I don't know.
I'm gonna go back to what you were talking about, how early on maybe some of your friends weren't super supportive of relationships, or just guys suck or dump them. I'll tell you, even in marriage, whether you've been, first married or married 36 years, dating, it's so important to surround yourself with friends that really support you in your relationship. Sometimes I think people are jealous, and so or you're taking some time away from them to be with the guy, and so whatever it is, they're just at the ready to kind of tear down that relationship, and it can really mess, I think, with your relationship and with your mind when you're around people who are constantly dogging the relationship or that guy, because it can skew your view. Because Brian has said before, on a recent podcast, I could wake up every morning and make a list of 10 things that just frustrate the dog out of me about Brian. And he could do the same thing about me. So it's what I'm focusing on, because I could also wake up every morning and write 10 things that I love about this man.
Come on.
And so I can focus on that. But if I'm surrounding myself with friends who are just ready to take down Brian, or how he treats me, or why relationships, why freedom on the other side of is. So I'm just saying it is so important for you to surround yourself with friends that support that. So do you feel like you have that in your life now with you and Jack?
1000%. I feel like my life kind of looks very different from when I started dating Jack to where our relationship is now. Like, I don't really have I have like one friend that I kept from before I started dating him, because I just think I was self-sabotaging in multiple ways of like, I'm lonely and these friends are there and they're always, I can say, let's hang out. And in 10 minutes we're down the road hanging out versus my friends now. And I feel like my friend group now kind of has come from Jack and his friends and their girlfriends and wives and all that. But they're the girls that you want at your table fighting for you. Like, they're there all the time, but like they also understand like they've got their own thing going on, and it doesn't need to be we hang out 24/7 or our friendship isn't a real friendship. Like the friends that I have, like I've got friends from childhood and stuff. We talk maybe once a year, but I know I could call them and they would pick up the phone and like do anything for me. So I feel like, but before I was dating Jack, I felt like that wasn't enough. Like I didn't have, like I needed friends that were there and like needed to be posting on social media, and which I feel like is also another reason for the not, let's get married when we're 30s or not married at all, is because we're in such a culture of TikTok and the dating apps where they're not holding your attention at all. In 30 seconds, you're on to the next and on to the next. So when you're surrounded by something that's constantly like fleeting, to going to something that's like very stable and there and not going to leave, and you have to work towards it. And like I feel like my generation too, like in the workforce is not the same as it was. Like you don't find people who want to show up for work and put in good work because it's to an extent like this work-life balance of like, they're not willing to put in the hours in anything. Relationships work because they're like, well, I just, I don't have enough time for me. I don't have enough self-care. It's like, I mean, yes, you do need that. But like, I feel like we've kind of gone a little overboard with that a little bit.
I think so. And I get it. When I see the problems in relationships, the things that have been done, the abuse, right? The models that we had as kids in our homes, the bad models.
Yeah.
And then if you look at that and extend it, like you said, to the workplace, 80 hours a week, even if it's 40, you look at that, this is my life. I'm going to get up and go and be with a bunch of people that I don't really love. I wouldn't hang out with outside of work. I mean, if you do, maybe you're blessed in that, but many people don't. And I don't enjoy this. I'm just doing it for a paycheck. So why would I give my entire life to this? So we're giving all of our best years, our best time of our best years to this place. And then I come home at night, I'm tired. I've got a few hours before I got to get up and do it all again. So I get that. They're saying, well, that sucks. Who invented this system? So I'm just not going to play. Well, then if you're not going to play, and we're still in this capitalistic society, we're in this economy. I mean, you got to make money, right? You have to work. And so you're saying it's the pendulum has swung way too far. We're overcorrecting to this. Well, what about me? I'd love to go out and just do nothing but ground and do yoga and go fishing and play golf and do a lot of self-care. At some point, you gotta work. Yeah,
and I feel like there is a good work-life balance. That I think that is 100% a thing. But I think, and I'm not speaking for, anyone that I surround myself doesn't feel like, they have. However, I'm saying,
right.
Like all the people I'm surrounding myself feel the same idea of you got to put in the work to go and have fun and, have a life and do that. But can't all be fun all the time.
When your generation gets accused of this entitlement and maybe not having great work ethic, again, I'm all for the balance. Have we overdone it? Yes.
Yeah.
But don't you believe everything we're talking about and that I mentioned, even with the man haters thing, as you called it, that's not just your generation. I mean, there's a lot of older women that are in that, right? And let's just be buds. Let's go hang out with our friends because all men have screwed us, right? And so that's just an overcorrection. It's interesting because we talk a lot on here about the Greek term for sin is an archery term. It means to miss the mark. And so I think we're missing the mark. Now hear me, was the pendulum that was way over here, let's say on the far left or far right, it doesn't matter. I don't want to get into that. but we were on we were missing the target. We were missing the bullseye for sure. For sure. And so I get why we need to correct, but many, many times the overcorrection is still missing the mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
For sure.
So what are some concerns that you have because of some things that you encountered growing up, because of some things that you've seen in relationships? What are some concerns you have going into marriage, going into maybe engagement, going into a long-term monogamous relationship with a man?
Yeah, I feel like that's a loaded question.
Okay. Yeah.
But I feel like there's so many things of like, well, what if one day they just are tired of it and tired of me and, and I feel like one time, I don't even remember who said something that was so impactful. It's like, it's not about, their missing rib, as, it wasn't Adam and Eve, is like, they need you. And like, you're their missing rib. And if one guy is dating specifically, but if a guy is tired of you, like, you're another guy's missing rib, and just remember that is like,
wow,
just leave that guy and go with this guy. And then, but going back to the question of like marriage and stuff is like, I guess it's scary of like being left or like someone deciding like, okay, it's
rejection,
not,
abandonment, being left.
Yes. It's not worth the effort anymore. And I know, and that's like,
so the lack of commitment, and you see that in people. People they're not committing to something. I mean, we talk about, we didn't quit, and we're so glad we didn't quit.
Right.
But many people do. And so you could be, even if you decide not to quit, you could be a victim of somebody saying, I'm done.
Right. And I feel like it is deep rooted in like your origin and where you come from. And like, that's just something, and it's hard in a relationship when it's like, that's not what they're showing you at all, but that's how your brain has been wired to think, is like, okay, well, like, this is too good to be true. And going into the whole, dating and how long are you going to date before you get engaged, and the societal norm of that, of like, okay, well, like, everyone around you is getting engaged and like, you're not. And going into the workforce and like, I work, all your coworkers are being like, well, when are you getting engaged and all this? And it's like, I don't know, leave me alone. Like I'm doing it my own way. And I think that's important, is like how you and your boyfriend, fiance, partner, whoever is feeling towards that. Is like, as long as y'all are on the same page, like, does it really matter what your timeline is? Right.
So you have been, we always call you a surrogate daughter, and you've got a couple of surrogate fathers in your life, right? And so there's things that draw us to people and to families. When you see what's out there and how men treat women and women can treat men and the divorce rate, and while we're not perfect at all, there's something that has drawn you to long haul marriage and to our family, right? It's not just because Jack was friends with Carson,
right?
There's more to it. So when you look at us, what kind of things are attractive about a relationship like this? What drew you to like the idea of, wow, could this really be true? I mean, what are the things that we could be like the myths that we dispel just by the nature of how we are with one another? Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah, I think some of the key things that like just stand out to you guys are like loyalty and respect. Like, you have such a respect for each other, and I feel like I'm around here a lot.
Yeah.
I never see either of you like talking down to each other or to your kids or anything like that.
It happens. It happens.
I mean,
but okay.
In front of, again, and it's not a perfect world, but if there is, it's like very quick, like, okay, like, you know, me and Brian said this morning, but like, we apologize. We came out of it. Like, it's just a mutual respect and love for each other. And just, I don't know, the light and the love that is filled, like y'all's ambiance almost, or whenever all your kids are over and we're over for a pool day or whatever. And it's just everyone is having a good time, and you see, and like all the intentional moments that you guys have, just, I don't know, shines a light.
Yeah. That could seem like a self-serving question. I get it. Hey, can you brag on us? But it's not that. It's not that, because we are disrespectful to one another at times, and our kids. We do talk about how we try to clean it up and repair damage. But one thing people are going to watch this. They're going to, and it's like, well, you're talking to these couples who are in their 50s or 60s or whatever. What about the young couples, right? And it's we talked about the few weddings that I've just done with some of your friends, you know, and even your family. But I want people to hear what it is that draws you to this ministry, and how we can actually help the people like you dispel the myths and give you hope that actually marriage can be a good thing. It's not just the divorce rate, it's the marriage rate. We want to increase the marriage rate, right?
Yeah. I feel like there's no judgment here. You can come over and, you know, be having an off day and say things that came out of your mouth, and you're like, oh my gosh, like there's just no judgment of like anything. And I feel like this is a place almost, or the marriages or my friends that are getting married, it's like, feels very like, I've got my hat in my hand and I need to just talk. And like, I feel like there's such an open forum for conversation here of like, the communication is insane. Like, you can sit and you don't even realize you're in it, and you're doing it, and you're doing what people pay hundreds of dollars for therapy sessions, but it feels so natural and just open. And it's like nothing I've ever experienced before. And it's like encouraging to be that way. It's encouraged to talk about like, hey, this is what happened this week. And it really made me think back to this time where I wasn't okay and I didn't know how to get past it. And how do you think I should, just the open conversation where it's like, you guys want to hear that from us and help us. And
there's so much in the culture, as you said, and it's amplified on social media. So much in social media, it's not true, but if it's popular, you think it's true.
Right.
And so this, like, cutting down the man and cutting down your man, it's like, and kind of having that woman power. And again, I'm all about self-love and self-respect. And but the overcorrection that where I see women dogging their man in front of other women. The one thing that Jamie does not do, even if she talks in a way that I felt disrespected, or we disagreed about something, or I felt like it was not good enough. You hear this from men. She never cuts me down or humiliates me or tries to humiliate me in front of other people ever. As a matter of fact, she not only doesn't put me down, she actually compliments me and like speaks highly of me and just says the most respectful things in front of other people. And that, even when she thanks me for doing things in front of other people, that makes me feel so good. And so I think, just like you said, you didn't know it existed. It's like, wow, that's a thing because of our experience sometimes. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, this is taking the conversation to a whole. Are we ready? Okay. So we've talked a lot about, like, from the get-go, relationships. Yeah. You know, and the relationship that you're in and your view of relationships and marriage and, you know, kind of your generation. But I want to hear about Zoe.
Okay.
So I want to hear a little bit more about you. I want to hear, who is Zoe? What do you do? Give a little plug for what you do. And then I also want to hear you.
If we cut you open, why do you bleed? What's your passion? What do you love?
And then, so after all of that, then I also want to hear what keeps Zoe grounded. because I know you've had a lot of this in your life, like woo, it's been kind of a ride, and even as of late, moving and that kind of thing. And so I just want to see what keeps Zoe grounded. So tell us who you are, a little bit of a plug about what you do.
I know.
What makes you bleed? What keeps you grounded? Okay, that's 20 questions. Ready? Go.
And go.
Tell us about Jamie.
Yeah, y'all next. So if you didn't know by now, my name's Zoe. I'm 22 years old. I'm a hairstylist. I grew up in the Argyle area. I work in Flower Mound. I have had probably not the most traditional lifestyle. I didn't come from my father passed away when I was 2. He had cancer. So going from that and not really ever having a father figure in my life, I had an older brother too. We were close in age, and just both of us growing up and not having that, I feel like now is starting to like really be like, oh, okay, I didn't come from that. How do I not turn around like it was horrible, but go forward on not hitting those big milestones now of like, okay, well, one day I'm going to get engaged and get married. And what am I supposed to do about that? Yeah. And I feel like that's one thing that draws me towards you guys is like, you have just that strong relationship, and my boyfriend's parents are such a just amazing family unit, and they care and love each other. I feel like I'm drawn to the stability of that. I am passionate about I feel like I'm passionate about a lot of things.
You
I feel
are.
like I'm on the spot, but I'm passionate about my friends and my family. I feel like I just want to make everybody happy, and I love being around that. I've recently gotten back into like working out and eating better, and I feel like I'm getting more passionate about that. And I just moved into my own place, so that's been super exciting. And now adjusting to that and getting to decorate and do all those things, and actually having my own like home base of like, okay, I'm home and I've got my things where
it's good.
I left them and all the things. So
it makes so much sense what you're drawn to, the stability of a family and the sense of belonging. And even when you started out, I grew up in maybe not the most traditional sense because you lost your father, and we're so sorry, at 2 years old to cancer. But actually so many people have gone through the loss of the father, or it was an absentee father. He didn't pass away, but he wasn't there. And so that's John Eldridge says 9 out of 10 men have a father wound. Many times it's because of the absentee father. But it doesn't mean women can't also have father wounds.
For sure.
And if not a proactive, forceful wound because of what he did or inflicted or abuse or whatever, but just by no fault or choice of his own, he wasn't there. And so you talk about that. I mean, that absence could lead to, like, the older you get, oh, wow. Like, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what I was missing. And some people talk about a fear, like my bridge from where I am to where I want to be is kind of washed out. How do I overcome that? Or who's going to fill that gap or that void? And so what you're drawn to is that sense of family and sense of belonging. Is there anything else from that you just know? I mean, now that we go in there, I feel
like part of what I looked for when I was dating is someone. So my father passed away, and then I just never, got the father figure that was a family guy who wanted, that just didn't happen for me, which is fine. But I feel like that's now what I look for. And when I found Jack, and that's one thing that stood out to me is, he was stable and he cared about me and he spoke life into me and he just took care of me. And I was drawn to that. Those are things that you can either look for those in a relationship, or you kind of self-sabotage and you look for the complete opposite of that. And that's kind of where you have to decide of like, there is a choice there of like, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to make my life different than how it was growing up? Of how do I find someone who's going to be there for me, and what are the things I look for? And you can't just run at every sign of it getting bad because it's scary because you've been there. that's how it's been.
I was just going to say what a gift it's been. I feel like for all the losses that you've, felt along the way, it just seems as if God's brought other men like Brian or like David or just consistent, steady men. And then Jack just, swiping over or whatever you do on Hinge. I don't know because I have not been on Hinge, but swipe or whatever you do to be able to find someone like Jack who is Mr. Family Man and Mr. Steady Eddie, consistent, loyal. It really, so of course I'm not saying he's perfect, although Jack, I think you're pretty close to perfect, but even though he's not perfect, he's bringing a lot of things to the table that your heart has needed.
I remember early in our relationship with you, Brian, and with David. David said to me, I met Jack's parents on Thanksgiving. It was really thrown into the loop. Like, we're going to my family's Thanksgiving. Here we go. And all Caleb's family was there. It was, I was stressed. And
like, here we go. We're doing this.
Yes. I remember after the next time I hung out with David and Amy, and David just kind of looked at me and was like, listen, if my son loves you, then you're one of our kids. And like, you call me if you need anything. Like, I will be there. Like, and it was just like, oh my gosh, what? And then shortly after, I came over here for the first time, and I walk into just perfect chaos of all the babies, and they were little, and I'm just in. Brian looks at me. I mean, I literally just walked in the door, and he looks at me. He's like, Zoe, come outside with me.
That's
and
right.
It was
I remember.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And I go out there, and you're like, oh, I just wanted to show you the backyard, like, and just welcome you to the family and all the things. And it was just like,
the conversation was like, oh my gosh, Brian just took Zoe out to the backyard. So we knew there was going to be, he was going to be grilling you. He was going to fill you in on all the stuff and, just kind of make sure that you felt like you were a part. So nothing like making you feel apart than dragging you outside by yourself.
But it did. It made me feel so comfortable. Like, I walked out there and was like, okay, like, let's go. Like, let's see what's happening here.
My kids were all joking. He's out there shrinking. You're like, oh, tell me about your family of origin.
Right, yeah. And it wasn't.
It kind of didn't take long to get to that, right?
But coming from like a world of like before of such chaos in my own life, it was kind of like, I mean, this is perfect. Like, these are the ways, let's throw it in. I mean, I did the same. Jack met my family on Thanksgiving too. And we did it. Yeah. And it was like, all right, here we go. Like, that's chaos ensues, but.
Awesome.
Well, I've said this. I mean, who you've become, especially based on what you've been through, is remarkable. And your maturity, especially for your age. I mean, your prefrontal cortex lobe is not even finished developing yet. But you've just got that maturity and wisdom beyond your years, what you value, what you prioritize, what you're looking for. We do pray that you find that, because you are aiming high and you're shooting, we believe, at the right target. Mm-hmm. So what would you say? They're so, and we've talked about it, but this, to the cynical woman who's afraid to date or afraid to get into a relationship or afraid to aim at getting into a marriage. Based on your experience so far, just what would you say to encourage those young girls who may have drunk the Kool-Aid in the culture?
Do it scared.
Yeah.
Be scared. Do it. Pray about it. And look for what, I mean, not write a bulleted list. Don't do that and check off like they have to be this and that, but just know that you're worth so much more than you think you are. Because you are. These girls, and I mean, I've been there, it's impressionable, and social media is such a thing now, and you need to look a certain way, and you need to feel a certain way, and you need to be in the kitchen, not necessarily, but like that's coming back is like stay-at-home wife and do the things. And it's like, you can have a career. I mean, I have a career and I love it. You can have a career and you can be who you want to be, and you don't date a guy and change yourself for him because they either need to get on the bus or get off. You're going somewhere, and they're either coming along with you and doing all the things and, cheering you on and being your biggest cheerleader and, growing with you, or they're holding you back, and you don't want to be the girl that's getting held back. You want to be the girl that's going forward, and they're like, oh my gosh. And be kind. Like, there's so many girls out there that are just not kind anymore. And it's like, what happened to that? You want to be the girl that's like, when the hard things are happening to you, you don't want to be rude to others or shut down, because in 5 years, they're going to be like, remember that girl? Like, she was always so kind to me. Like, that's what they're going to remember. Not, you don't want to be the girl that's like, I mean, she was okay.
So many of the young girls around your age, they're saying these things that they've heard on social media.
Yeah.
So they're parroting all these lines and these cliches, but it when you say them, it feels like it's true. It feels like you truly believe these things to your core. We're seeing you act them out. It's not just wishful thinking, and you can tell. And so, it's the things that you've internalized and you're living out, and so it's true. And so when you say that, hey, I'm going somewhere. You're worth more than you think you are. It's not just, well, I'm worth a lot. It's like you truly believe it. You know it. And you will know the truth, and the truth sets you free.
At the end of the day, you got to go to bed and be happy about the choices that you've made and where you've gotten. And if you can't go to bed and be like, you know what? Look at what I've done. I may not be where I want to be right now, but like every decision that I've made has led me to the place that I am today. And like, I'm proud of myself for that.
Something that Brian says a lot when you said do it afraid, just step into that. Everything in you could have said relationships don't work out, people die, people leave, this danger, like don't enter the danger zone, just stay away, or just don't make commitments, sleep around, just have a hookup, but don't make any commitments because people leave, and that's very hurtful. And you decided, I don't want to live that life. Yeah. I'm ready to do it afraid. I'm ready to step into, not that you knew you were stepping into a long-term relationship
but
when y'all met, but you don't know. You do have to just try. And what Brian says a lot is when you are feeling anxious or afraid about something and you don't step into that, but you withdraw, your world shrinks. And so I just think about everything that you would not be experiencing right now had it not been for, what do you do? Swipe left or right? I don't know. Whatever you do.
I don't even remember. I think
swipe on
I
Hinge.
think you swipe right, and if you like them, and swipe left.
There we go. Okay, so if you wouldn't have swept right and left and said, you know what? I'm doing this and I'm meeting this guy. Okay, I'm going to meet his family now. It's like one step at a time, and you have... It's like your world has expanded and opened up. The people that you've met, the experiences that you've had, and that's just going to keep going and going and going, all because you chose to step into it afraid, when everything in you, like it would make perfect sense after you've shared what you've shared to say, no, I'm too scared. Too many things can happen. I don't want to be hurt. And so who wants to just withdraw and live a life like that? But sometimes it does feel safer. So I'm really proud of you for not just that, opening yourself up to that, but all along the way, just allowing your heart to heal and grow past, some
I didn't
past
think I would be
hurts.
here ever. Like growing up, it was like, always, you're not going to get there. You're not going to do it. You're not doing enough. You're not good enough. And there's just something you got to tell yourself.
So when you hear those, because those voices can come back, they will always come back. It's not, oh, I squashed those, never to be here, never to hear from them again. You will continue to hear those. So what do you do, Zoe, to drown out those voices or to stay grounded?
Yeah, I just have to take a second to myself sometimes, whether that's sitting on the balcony or going and grounding or getting in the cold plunge or doing something for yourself. I think that's important, not to the extent of like, I always have to have self-care, but like seriously, like, okay, well, I'm going to go do this and I'm just going to think, and like, when those come back, I think about myself like, okay, I've heard that before. I've done that before, and I've conquered that before, and I've done hard things. My biggest thing is like, you can do hard things. You can. You think you can't, but you can sit in the cold plunge for 3 minutes and 30 seconds. You can go and run that mile. You can go and climb the mountain. You can do whatever, but you got to do it. You got to take a step because If not, you're getting left in the dust, sister.
Yeah. So as Jamie said, when you don't do the things, your world shrinks. When you do the things, you're building and developing resilience. And that resilience will serve you in every area of your life. Literally, the part of your brain that helps you with resilience grows when you put yourself intentionally in uncomfortable situations. That's why we love the cold plunge. You know, nobody wants to get in it. People say, "Oh, I hate cold." Of course, that's why you do it. It's because you're proving to yourself, I can do this. And then you start to believe. Again, so a man thinks in his heart, so is he. That manifestation, people are all into these days. It works. Why? Because you're believing something. It's not what, again, wishful thinking. Well, I think it's like, no, I believe to my core, I can overcome this. And so we're real proud of you for doing what you've done, putting yourself in these uncomfortable situations and growing and proving to yourself, I can do it. And even as you just rehearse those or regurgitated or whatever, those lines, those negative things that were spoken over you that you can access. You know better. You know those are lies. So one of the things she said, what do you do to stay grounded? Doing something for you and doing all that. But it's for me, it's taking time to take those thoughts captive. They popped into my head, that those negative things that were spoken, and I replace them now. I have daily affirmations. So when I'm sitting there for the 3 minutes up to my neck in cold water, I start saying, I'm more than my thoughts and feelings. I'm the manifest presence of God in the world. 100%. God is my provider and sustenance, and it's already given me everything I need for abundant life. And I go through my affirmations that are the truth. And then those negative thoughts, they're gone because I'm telling myself the positive things that I know to be true.
I find myself doing that too, is just saying you're positive, like, okay, no, I'm good enough. And I think girls in their, 20s, early 20s, late 20s, you're just being, you see everywhere. You're comparing yourself just in your relationship, what you look like and what you're eating, everything. And it's like, okay, if you just tell yourself like, okay, but I'm me and I'm comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the thing.
Well, we need to probably wrap this one up. We need to go celebrate, maybe bring Jack with us and go to celebrate this whole deal at Cactus Canyon, right? We'd love to do that. And by the way, just in the future, if there's ever a proposal and if there is a wedding, I know a guy who can officiate a pretty mean ceremony. And I've actually got access to a really cool venue. I mean,
those are things to think about for sure.
No pressure, Jack. No pressure.
Yeah, Jack. You hear that?
Bless his heart. All right. Hey, thank you, Zoe.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me.
This is fun.
I love you guys.